Merry frickin' Christmas, guys. 'Tis the season for watching films, at least in my household. But every year I find that it's not just the same kind of Christmas movies that show up on TV and streaming services. It's literally the same movies, like It's a Wonderful Life, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Elf, Home Alone. And of course, all of these are great films. They rightfully deserve their place in the Christmas canon, and I get why people build traditions around them, but personally, I'm kind of tired of the redundancy. I'm tired of how relentlessly jolly and commercialized Christmas is portrayed in popular media, because for a lot of people, Christmas isn't joyful at all. It's quiet, it's lonely, and straight up melancholic sometimes. So with that in mind, let's talk about some unconventional Christmas gems, especially if you want to keep things fresh and give some love to lesser known films that are also subversive towards the hyper-sensationalism and spectacle of Christmas. First up, we've got Val Lewton's Curse of the Cat People. And technically this film is a sequel to Cat People, which is about a woman named Irina who fears that getting aroused will turn her into a Black Panther. But Curse of the Cat People takes a very different approach. It's far more gothic and psychological than the prequel. It's very reminiscent of Rebecca, and instead of focusing on sexual repression and fear of the body, Curse of the Cat People follows Irina's daughter Amy, who is withdrawn from reality and kind of spirals into madness as she begins communing with her dead mother, which is just so much fun, right? So what's so Christmassy about this depressing gothic film, you may be wondering? Well, it's set during the Christmas season, first and foremost, and the story uses the dichotomy between imagination and spectrality in a way that, for me, was reminiscent of the delusions we all collectively had about Santa Claus growing up. Because what was that? As a person of color, I had no business believing that a jolly white man was gifting me black dolls as a child, but I believed it anyways, and so does Amy. Amy believes whatever she's experiencing is real. And another thing that makes Curse of the Cat People so interesting to me is how it reframes the holiday not as a time of warmth and togetherness, but as a time where isolation is more pronounced than any other time in the year. The decorations are there, the rituals are there, but emotionally something is missing. And like most gothic films, Curse of the Cat People leans into loneliness, interiority, and the idea that fantasy can become a refuge when reality feels cold or indifferent. It's a film about grief, imagination, and the fear of being misunderstood, wrapped cozily in a winter setting that feels eerie rather than festive. And frankly, when you remove all the performativity and decorations from Christmas, you're left with coldness and nighttime that strikes at 4 p.m. So yeah, I'd argue that Curse of the Cat People is closer to reality than any other Christmas film you might have seen, unless you're on Zoloft or Lexapro and you're just super jolly.
Oh, you unzip me. It's all coming back. It's all coming back. I hate you. It's all coming back. You understand? I don't like it. I don't like to think about it.
Another sequel gem that's criminally underrated, both generally and as a Christmas film, is Tim Burton's Batman Returns. It does take place during Christmas time, and, although there's no Jack Nicholson as the Joker in this one, we are introduced to both Oswald Cobblepot and Selina Kyle. Their villain origin stories are sad and depressing, but their transformation into their villain counterparts, the Penguin and Catwoman, is pretty epic. And not only is Batman Returns great on a casting level and in how it allows for these social subtle rejects to inflict punishment onto people. But to me, it functions as an enjoyable Christmas film because Tim Burton sort of cuts through the bullshit of Christmas. He shows us that it isn't a perfect magical time of the year, but rather a performance of sorts that masks a lot of trauma and loneliness. And of course, the way how Tim Burton frames Christmas here mirrors the mask of Bruce Wayne that Batman wears, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Christmas in Batman Returns is not comforting, okay? It's raw and hollow, and what we see is Gotham buried in snow and covered in lights and decorations, but emotionally, everyone in the film is alone or tormented. And apart from all the gimmicks and Tim Burton-ness, what I like most about Batman Returns is how it shows us what happens when joy is absent from people's lives, especially when there's a festive spectacle on the surface covering up a rotten underbelly. And this is something that is also mirrored through the Penguin and how he was abandoned as a child in winter and grew up in the sewers, which made him into the creepy goblin that we know and love, right? So the point being, let's stop pretending that Christmas is all hee-hees and ha-has, shall we? The last Christmas film that I want to talk about is a Spanish dark comedy titled Placido. It's similar to It's a Wonderful Life in many ways. The plot follows a man named Placido who's suffering financially during Christmas time and can't afford these loan payments he needs for his work bike. And in the backdrop, there's this huge charity campaign going on that on the surface is meant to provide financial assistance for the poor, but in reality, we find out that the charity is inefficient and doesn't provide any lasting or long-term solutions to poverty. And what I really love about this film is, one, it's extremely under the radar. I have never heard about this film outside of my research for Christmas foreign films that also fit my personal criteria. So I feel like what an archaeologist probably feels like when they dig up a new kind of exoskeleton. Another thing I love about Placido is that it does the same thing for me that the other two films do. It criticizes the public spectacle of Christmas and it satirizes the hypocrisy of seasonal generosity. Because really, you should be kind all year round, but people like the socialites we see in Placido only care about having their goodwill perceived rather than making any substantial impact. And that's it. Those are some unconventional Christmas favorites of mine, but if you think they're too dark or they might sour the Christmas spirit, I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's all a psyop.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Christmas is about loneliness and alienation, and it's a time for reflection before the new year. And in my humblest of opinions, I think it's nice to watch a film that acknowledges the reality of Christmas. And yes, Christmas is also jolly and fun, but not all the time, right? And maybe if we as a society watched Curse of the Cat People every year instead of this kind of slop from the acquisitioners, as I like to call them, then we'd all be reality checked and probably better off for it, right? Anyways, Merry Christmas. I'm going to be celebrating in theaters with Marty Supreme, and from the bottom of my heart, I hope everyone gets a grip in 2026.